Fingers Inc. were a short-lived American trio from Chicago, comprising a DJ/producer and two vocalists. They were active from 1985 to 1988, and they released one album in 1988, but quite a lot of singles. They were known as progenitors of Deep House, which was a fusion of house music and soul. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of the album Another Side by Fingers Inc. It was released in 1988, and it was their only album, and it was my first time listening to it. It's my first encounter with them. I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in many things. I'm not an expert in house music or deep house. I kind of um, knew a bit of house music and rave and acid house as it hit the mainstream in the UK, which was around the late turn of the 80s into the 90s, I would say. And I encountered it quite a bit at that point, which was a little bit later than this. So I think they're a little bit ahead of my encounter with these sorts of styles. Uh, Having said that, the first few songs on this album feel to me like they're not really house. Again, I'm not going to claim a huge expertise here, but they seem more like electro pop or electro soul to me. So the first track in particular, Decision, feels like it's could have been by the band ABC or somebody like that, or even early Madonna. And then it kind of settles into something that I think is more recognizably as house to me. So it's of the tracks are very much of the same kind of speed. The strong dancing rhythms, often with a four on the floor kind of feel. Often the sounds uh, um, it's either samples that are repeated, but I think it's programmed drums. Often sounds like a Roland TR-808, but maybe just moved on a little bit from that in terms of sounds. Synth bass going on, and then sometimes pads, sometimes kind of what I'm going to unhelpfully call chirpy synth sounds, synth chords. And often the chords used here are suspended chords. So there's often like a two chord sequence, and sometimes there's the chords that are kind of related. I can't sing a chord, and I can't do a really good impression of this, but it's kind of jing, 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 or something like that. And there's a particular syncopation that I associate with house music that's used quite a lot, that's quite distinctive here. I think that the whole like elements here, which are apparently what make it deep house instead of just straight house, uh, come through in the nature of these chords, particularly. So the kind of jazzy chords and extended chords, and I think also maybe the sounds that are chosen for the keyboard, but also the singing, which has very much a soul-like affectation to it, and um, if you know more about this than I do, please let me know if I'm right on this or if I'm wrong, and if there's any the other elements that I should be listening to get that connection here. Apparently, this album is seminal deep house. It's one of the things that created this idea. If that's the case, I'm not sure I'm going to like any of the others because I didn't like this very much. And I think maybe partly that's because, well, I think maybe partly it's because I got fed up of house music back in the day. I think partly it's because it's quite danceable in a trance-like way, but I'm not dancing to it. I'm listening to it as an album to listen to. The grooves don't particularly appeal to me much. The chords are very repetitive, and the singing's okay, but sometimes it's kind of approximate in its tuning, by which I mean the tuning can be lost at times, and the lyrics are pretty banal, as if they're being kind of riffed on the spot. Maybe they are, and maybe that's part of the charm of it for some people. And I do accept that when you're dancing away in a club in kind of a trance of ecstasy, maybe you don't want to have challenging ideas. You just want to have something that's being said and it's repetitive, and whatever. So, as an album to listen to, definitely my feeling is I wasn't that happy. So, and that's my overall impression. It's just really not that keen. The first few tracks are maybe a bit better, and then it settles into this feel that I'm just not a huge fan of. And then it's exacerbated by being 90 minutes long as an album. It just goes on forever. So that's what I think. I didn't like it very much, but I'd love to know what you think of the album. Especially, I'd love to hear from anybody who's more of a fan. I always love it when I've not been too keen on something and somebody else comes along and points out the things that I've missed. That'd be great. Please do that for me. Or if you agree with me, that's also good. Please just leave a comment. This is my favourite thing on the channel is to engage with people through the comments that you give. But that's it from me for now.
The company of two hearts I share, one of the other I must bear. These feelings I can hardly